Hello. In this video, we are going to tell you about the structure of a writing group and the processes your group will go through both during and in between your group meetings. I am Andrea Verdan in the Department of Chemistry and the Center for Faculty Development. And joining me in this discussion is David Green in International Studies, who is also the Director of the Center for Faculty Development. So let's start by defining what a writing group is. The model we are following here is the one proposed by McGill and Beatty, which they call action learning sets. So this set, or group of faculty, consists of 3 to 4 faculty from various disciplines. So by expressing interest or registering for a group, you've already volunteered to participate and work on your scholarship. A thing to note is that your group is not a group of friends hanging out and writing. And if you sense it's becoming a friendship group, if you're going off topic, and not focused on the writing goals, it's probably a good sign that it's time to join a new group. Though meeting as a group, recall that you are going to be there to support your group members as each works on their individual goals or projects or issues. There might be a misconception that this is a team project, and it's not. Writing groups are not group projects. Again, each individual is working on their own goals and letting the group know what they need most, and the group is going to be there to support you. So how will these meetings work? Well, during your first session, your group will determine a regular meeting time, and we suggest every 2 weeks or so. During that first meeting, in that first session, each group member should also present and establish their concrete goals, and we'll give you examples of these in a moment. In subsequent meetings, each group member will have a chance to reflect on those goals or even update them. So you're going to be answering the following questions with your team and your group members. These questions are, what progress have I made on my goals? Or what do I need from the group today? It's also important to remember that your group follow the structure and guidelines that we're going to present. We found that groups quickly fall apart if the guidelines aren't followed. The guidelines we're going to propose here are the ones that will be the most effective so that your group can succeed. First, when each member shares their goal progress or maybe even updates their goals, make sure that each group member is given equal time to speak. So if you're in a group of 4 individuals, that's about 15 minutes per person. While each person is sharing, keep your focus on that group member that is sharing. And note that this guideline, the second point, this is the one that groups find most challenging. If you want to empathize with the person that is speaking and say, oh yeah, that happened to me too, but my chair did this, you're definitely free to do that, but make sure to share only when it's your turn to speak. So going back to focusing on the person who is sharing, make sure to be attentive and supportive, and if appropriate, you can stretch or challenge that group member. And what we mean by that, what we mean by challenging, is perhaps suggesting a different way to approach a task if a group member is having difficulty achieving a particular goal. This will all ensure that the dynamic in your group is positive and cooperative. After each member has shared their goal progress report or has received the support they need, ensure that each group member has the opportunity to state their plan of action. So each group member, while they are speaking, will state, by the next time we meet, I will, and you will list down your concrete goals for the next time that your group meets. Another effective strategy while working in your groups is to establish roles. So the first role is a chair, who is essentially your group's timekeeper. Your chair is the one who makes sure that each group member is given equal time to speak, to share or revise the progress of their goals. The chair should be attentive and know how long each person is speaking. So for example, when a group member has just a few minutes of their time remaining, the chair will flag that ending point and ensure that that group member can answer the what will you do by next time question, so that each group member has that space to share their action plan. Another role is your note taker. So this is the group member that will be collecting the email addresses of all the group members and keeping track and keeping note of the action plan that each group member comes up with. Your note taker will then circulate that summary by email and then bring that to the next meeting. So you can see here what those notes may look like. The note taker will jot down the goals and that action plan articulated by each group member while they're answering that question. What will you do by next time? These are the goals that each person will aim to achieve by the next meeting. As you can see in these variety of examples, these concrete goals, there are many different ways that one can work on their writing and productivity. They do not all have to be concrete written products like journal articles or book chapters. For example, we can see that person A states that contacting their dean will help them on writing their sabbatical proposal. So they jotted that down. And person D knows that working at the gym twice a week helps them with their productivity. So they included that in their list, in their action plan. So your goals can be any activity that you know will support your personal progress of your scholarship. And your final role will be a monitor. And if you are in a larger group, you can have more than one monitor. The monitor has the important role of ensuring that the group is sticking to those guidelines that we've introduced here. Remember that we found that groups quickly fall apart if the guidelines aren't followed. So the monitor makes sure that the team is following the rules. As monitor, you should speak up if the group is getting off track. You can also gently interrupt a group member who appears to be pulling the focus onto themselves during someone else's time to speak. And also at the end of the meeting, you can ask the team, did we follow the guidelines? Or what can we work on better next time? Again, that monitor is really important because a group can easily fall apart without those monitoring questions. Also note that you can rotate all these roles each time your group meets. So on the first week, one person can be the chair, the second person can be the note taker, the other group members are monitors, and then rotate those around in subsequent meetings.
So now you know the roles, let's have a look at the process. So this is what will happen in a typical faculty writing group session, and each person will have their turn. So we're looking at one person's turn, and then every member of the group will do the same. So the first thing is to review, what goal did you set yourself last time? And depending on what the answer to that question is, you're going to go in different directions. So let's say you achieved your goals. Great. Inform your group, let them know, celebrate. Wonderful. Then think about what is going to be your new goal to be achieved for the next time you meet. So we're making the suggestion that you pick something that's important. The one little caveat there is important but realistic given what you know is going on in the next 2 weeks. So if you have a heavy grading load, you've got visitors coming in from out of town, whatever it might be, whether work related or personal, then make sure you're or have a go at least at being realistic in what goal you're setting yourself, while trying to make sure you're nudging things forward a little more than you would if it was just you on your own. So that's if you managed to achieve what you'd originally set from last time. But it may also be that you didn't achieve what you wanted to, and again, let the group know, commiserate. And then in both cases, with your new goal or with the goal that you didn't achieve, let the group support you and challenge you to help you think through how you're going to reach your new goal. Now, let's say you didn't achieve what you hoped to. The group there might be giving you a bit of a reality check and helping you get back to where you want to be, or to question and help you think through, is the direction you were going to take going to work anyway? Do you need to do things in a different order to get where you want to get ultimately? With your new goal, the group might be asking you, well, what do you foresee as the challenges, or what different kinds of approaches could you be considering? So they can help you brainstorm or and come up with as good an approach as you can have. And this is where my personal experience has been, being in a multidisciplinary writing group has been really helpful, because some of the approaches that people use in different disciplines are very different, but they're adaptable to your own research. So that can be a great thing. So that's the bulk of your time together in your, say, 15 minutes when it's your turn. And at the very end, you end up with your action plan. What's your action plan to be done by the next meeting? And there the action plan needs to be concrete, realistic. It's recorded by the note taker. I would suggest you also record it for yourself, just in case you're not the note taker. And that has set your goal for this next period until the group gets back together, probably in a couple of weeks' time. So how about between meetings? What happens then? Well, primarily you are working on your goals. You've set them out in your previous meeting, and that's given you a roadmap of where you need to be. You might want to break that down into what you're going to be doing each day for the next couple of weeks. Up to you how exactly you do that. Now, if when you next meet you want feedback on written work that you've done, then what we suggest is that you are very precise with the rest of the group about what kind of feedback you most need. So, perhaps it's a segment of a document that you've been writing, and just at the very top you put a bulleted list of 2 or 3 things that you would like feedback on. Things like what grabs your attention the most, or where did you lose the thread, or where can I tighten things up? What non sequiturs do you see that I can't see because I'm a disciplinary insider? Yeah, these are places where having people from different disciplines can be really, really helpful. We also strongly recommend that you have an agreement as a group about the maximum amount of time you will spend reading one another's work. And the suggestion we have for you is no more than 20 minutes of reading for each of the people in your group. So if you're in a group of 4, that means you'll have 1 hour of reading of other people's work maximum per 2 weeks if you're using a 2-week model. So the reason we say that is we've seen groups have trouble in the past where some people have committed to hours and hours of reading one another's work, not realizing that that was way beyond what is expected or reasonable. So that has led groups to have difficulties. So be really conscious and make a group decision about the maximum. So that it doesn't get too much. But it seems reasonable to us that you spend 1 hour every 2 weeks meeting and 1 hour every 2 weeks reading and getting prepared for some feedback. The other thing that happens between the meetings is that you do give the feedback on other people's work, again sticking to that limit, and it may be I only got through the first paragraph because that's all I could, it took me all that time just to understand what you were trying to say because the text is so dense. Or it's a field I'm not used to. That's fine. It's as much as you're able to do in the time allotted, and agree on what the process would be. But typically, the feedback may be within the next meeting, rather than in between. Up to you. And the only meeting that's a little different is the very first one because you don't yet know one another's projects. You don't know what people are working on. So you're going to divide the time equally, as you will in all meetings. But you're going to start out with where are you now and where do you want to be? So what's the thing that you're wanting to work on? Is it an article? Is it a grant proposal? It could be all sorts of different things. But and it may be that the group is going to help you work out what you should be focusing your energy on if you have more than one thing that you're interested in. You can then think about what is getting in the way in your scholarship or what has been challenging for you in your scholarship in the past. It may be that you've noticed some patterns already that the group can look out for you. And then what do you hope to get from the group? So what's it going to provide? Is it accountability is what you really need? You really need support. You really need to be pushed, a little bit of a challenge. There's a list of different things that you could get from the group. So think through those. And you're going to end as you will end all your meetings with, by the next time we meet, I will. And so you've actually got some concrete, reasonable, realistic, actionable goals of what you will do by the next time you meet. And after you've had that first meeting, we'd really appreciate it if you could let us know who is in your group by dropping us a line at faculty-development@seattleu.edu so that we can ask for feedback in our annual survey. It's just so that we have a sense of how many groups are being created and what kinds of supports you might need and what we can be doing to be helpful. And if you're wondering about where to meet, well, one idea would be to use the faculty lounge on the 6th floor of the Lemieux Library. It's a lovely space, nice and quiet. You can take your coffee up there with you, and it's reserved for faculty use. So that might be a good spot, and we know a number of groups do like to gather there. And some groups also do a different thing to keep their scholarship going, which is something called Write on Site, where faculty will let one another, oh, no, I'm going to be in the faculty lounge at 9:30 tomorrow morning, hope to see you there. There's no conversation, but there's a kind of an extra accountability and protected time where people can just get on with their scholarship. So that's also something that you could consider. And of course, if you have any questions at all about the process of faculty writing groups or about the rationale that we discussed in the previous video, then if you're joining a new group and we have a launch conversation coming up, bring those questions with you and we will answer them there. Alternatively, you can contact us at faculty-development@seattleu.edu and we will get back to you as soon as we can with answers to your questions and maybe get together if that would be helpful. And please keep us posted of other ways that we can be helpful to you in your scholarly productivity and feeling like you're making headway in your scholarship. So on behalf of the officer-sponsored projects, who are our co-sponsors for this event, and from us in the Centre for Faculty Development, it just remains for us to wish you very happy writing with those big scare quotes around writing, because it means so much more than just that. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the video.